smoke, breathe me in and let me go. Filling the lungs.
Do it to him, Mikey boy. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. My name is Keith Sworn, and welcome back to Neck FPS. And guys, in today's video, I want to give you all my recommended settings for the game, Ready or Not. Now, more so, we're going to be talking about settings that go with gameplay and stuff like that, rather than graphical settings. However, we are playing on console, specifically Xbox Series S. And also, a special thank you to the Ready or Not team for sponsoring this video and hooking me up with early access to Ready or Not. So, if you guys want more Ready or Not content, make sure you're liking today's video, subscribing to the channel if you're new. Let's go ahead and get on into today's topic. So, first and foremost, one thing I do want to point out about Ready or Not when it comes to settings and stuff like that. When it comes to customizing your character customization only works in multiplayer. If you play in single player, you're stuck as one basic selected character. You can customize their gear and everything, but you won't be able to change like the voice, face, body, or anything like that. But anyway, let's go ahead and talk more about the settings of the game. There's just a few small things I want to highlight here in the settings, and I'm going to go ahead and show you guys some of that good stuff now. So we're going to go ahead down, hit our start button options, depending on whether you're playing PlayStation or Xbox, and we're going to go to our options. Text language, obviously, whatever your language is. And there's a few things here in gameplay that I want to highlight to you guys and how I like to keep things. Now, when for the shotgun reload method, obviously all shells. I don't really use shotguns too much in this game. I'm more so for precision shooting, especially since a lot of people in here you want to try and take them alive. I would rather use an AR or a pistol or SMG at the end of the day. Not something that uses a big explosive shell. But that's just me. For your low ready style, I'm going to recommend keeping that on low. Your default command, fall in. Your door command, stack up. Now for your opening door command, I always try to push either move flashbang and clear or open flashbang and clear for open door, unlock door, lock door. Of course, obviously these are the commands for your AI teammates when you're playing single player. Always put on flashbang or smoke and clear. That way they're taking the risk and clearing the room, so that way the enemy's incapacitated in some way before you push ahead. Because remember, in this game you cannot take a lot of shots. Alright, so I want you guys to keep that in mind. Keep the score display on. For a lot of these, I have most of these enabled besides the static reload icon, because I personally don't need that. I'm keeping an eye on my ammo count and stuff like that myself. But showing your team status, your player names and stuff like that. In a game like this, where every bullet counts and you're really trying to survive and it's real slow pace and nitty gritty, you're going to want as much information as possible. And none of this stuff really clutters the HUD like that. Even when it shows the player names, they're really faded out and everything, but it can help you see where your teammates are and stuff like that. Just a lot of these things help. Showing the compass makes it easier to point out different things in different directions, targets, where your teammates are headed, stuff like that. Showing the damage paper doll, I have that on. That shows you where the damage you have personally taken is on your body. So if you're shot in your leg, obviously it's not going to be good for you to kick indoors. If you're shot in the arm, that's going to impact your aim. You always want to know this stuff. Input hints, keep that on. Context hints, keep all that on. None of that is anything that I find surprising. I think you should personally have all that on. Like I said, the only one that I'm not really worried about is a static reload icon. But if you would like a little reminder when to reload, feel free, go ahead and turn that on. For your graphics, there's two things I want to harp on here. Obviously, you're playing on console. You want to play on performance mode. Have the best frame rate possible as a shooter. Make sure motion blur and bounce lights are turned off. Reason I say turn off the bounce lights is because the brightness in this game is really intense, really high. Flashlights can damn near blind you, and when the sun is bright in this game, it is bright. It is blinding. If an enemy is standing somewhere in direct sunlight, they can have an advantage over you because you will see the brightness reflecting on the ground before you see that enemy. It's almost like the game has crazy intense ray tracing. I don't even know if it does or not, but if you know that, let me know down in the comments. I have my brightness set all the way down to 1.90, and that is still very bright. That's how low my brightness is. And guys, look at this table, for example. Look how bright that still is. The lights and reflections in this game, they don't play with any of that with any of that stuff. Audio, you know, these are to each their own. I would focus more on sound than music. Accessibility, again, you know, to each their own. If you want to have your weapons and stuff like that highlighted, especially, you know, the ones that are like on the ground and everything for when you're collecting evidence, making arrests, you can. That will definitely, you know, will help you. But if you got an eye for them, you really don't need to turn that on. Me and my teammates were usually, you know, pretty good at pointing that stuff out, but that's completely up to you. Now, controller binds and everything, I'm not going to get too much into this. A lot of this stuff, you know, to each their own. Toggling ADS. This is something you might want to play with per se, because there's a couple different ways you can aim in this game. You can aim by using your your regular aim down sights, but you can also aim with your laser. And you know, whether or not you want to hold LT or RT or L2 or R2, which depending on what controller you're using, whether, you know, using that different kind of aim is completely up to you. And some people, you know, may prefer it a bit more comfortable if you're not all the way aiming down your sights and just using something rather than the laser pointer on the gun. But like I said, guys, to each their own, you know, sensitivities. That's completely up to you. But we're not going to mention anything else too crazy there, because like I said, that's all comfort and preferencing in my personal opinion. But anyway, guys, these are just some of my recommended settings for Ready or Not on console. This video helped you. Smash that like button. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out. Have a good one.